Well, all right, you guys. Good morning. It is Sunday. Go to New York City day. It's early morning. It's gorgeous here in DC. We've had a couple of weeks of, colder weather. It's still a little cool, but the spring is here, so it looks great. I'm going to try to give you a presentation on telomere, the symbol Telomer Pharmaceuticals. The symbol is TELO. TELO. I'll write that out for you. Well, you'll see it on the description, but it's TELO. 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 Okay, I was invited very kindly to the presentation given to the, I guess, to announce okay, let me start with this. The audience was comprised of highly educated people, lots of doctors. The subject matter was medicine and testing, and I'm not a doctor. So a lot of it may or may not have gone over my head. What I'm going to try to describe to you is what I heard and how excited I am. Now, I did an interview while I was there directly afterward, but I made a mistake. I didn't, in that interview, there were people watching, so I kept it short. I was a little distracted by that. But what I didn't do is set the story for the audience. I kind of went into that interview as if you had already been in the room listening to the presentation. Now, the reason I haven't put that interview up is I want to try to give you that grounding in the story. Yes, I wish I had done it closer to that time so it would be all in my head. Yes, I wish I were a doctor, but I'll do the best I can. Let me just predicate this. I've tried not to use that word. Now I've used it with, and my computer is not going to give me the updated information. All right. The company is trading. Telomer Pharmaceuticals is currently trading, closed on Friday at $6.86. The company has outstanding shares of 29 million, a little bit more. And what's held at the DTC or what's the float, all of that is not available on over-the-counter markets. Okay, all right, I'll check. While you're waiting, I'll check Yahoo Finance. They might have it. All right, I'm hurrying. TELO hits a new high. All right. The same closing price, $6.86. And then on Yahoo, you go to statistics. And and sometimes these numbers are different, by the way. They have outstanding shares of 29.61. That's the same. They also give you the float here of 16.54 million. Insiders hold 42%, and it shows shares short of 33,000. Well, and they give you this false confidence for the shorts and to keep you from seeing it this way. They say that the days to cover, actually I don't see that, but they've only, it shows 33,000 short. The average volume, the average volume trading is 71,000. So it gives you the illusion that there can't be a sudden, if you want to call it, short squeeze. This is the chart of the trading in Telomer. Let me see if I can show you that. Now, what this shows me, okay, let me read you that quickly. If you, in the disclosures, they did a raise, an underwriting agreement between Telomir and Kingswood Investments, a division of Kingswood Capital Partners. Now, I've looked into these Kingswood and asked, and my information is they're a typical sort of boutique capital firm. They're out of the South, I guess, although their addresses are on Battery Place in New York. Now, this does, I just looked at this morning. I remember reading it before I went to the presentation. It doesn't seem to have the VWAP formula and the back looking and all of that. However, this is one thing I want you to hear, and I think this gives cover for shorting. I had it ready for you. I had it ready, but I spun it up to, all right, let me try again. Anyway, let me tell you what's going on, what I see in this chart. This chart is a chart that shows a company where naked shorting has happened. Sellers have come in, sold stock that doesn't exist, sold stock without locating it, sold stock without borrowing it, sold stock without settling it. Why can this happen? Because in Gary Gensler's markets, Adina Friedman's markets, Robert Cook's markets, and the guy at over-the-counter markets, your broker-dealers, prime brokers, other regulators, Congress, journalists, nobody cares. And we've proven that to ourselves. In the case of Telomir, there was an offering, and one gentleman, best information I have, bought the entire float, either in his own name or through an entity. Yet, the shorting still happens. Now, I don't see, for myself, I don't see anything particularly exciting about this chart. I expect more shorting to go on. And why would they do that? Why would they do that in a pharmaceutical company? TELO has, in my judgment, one of the potentially most exciting breakthroughs, humanity-changing technologies. But as any startup, they're going to need money. So what does, and I'm not saying it's Kingswood, but somebody's doing this selling. Kingswood comes out like they all do. They're excited to do the offering. They do their analysis, they price it, and then the stock goes down. Look, I come from an era when it was priced, it was the correct price, and the stock usually on an exciting story went up. This is selling shares that don't exist. And it's allowed in the US markets because it profits our big firms and those in the know. Okay, what I see in the agreement that makes this profitable, and of course I can't find it. Oh, here it is. They get warrants, which is always a risk. Anytime there's warrants, they have a payment and delivery through the DTC for the underwriters. That does not say any kind of VWAP, but let me just see. They have an over allotment. Okay, this is the thing that I think allows for the continued selling of the stock, because just somebody sold it. And I don't think it was the insiders. I don't think it was the one gentleman that bought the entire IPO, but someone sold. So what's their goal? Drive the stock down to lower prices than they sold it. And then they're going to, because the company is, startups are always going to need ongoing money, particularly if testing is successful. They're going to need more money. So all they have to do is suppress the price. When they go to the company, the next round is at a lower price. Because remember, these kind of guys, they don't get old. They don't get sick. They don't benefit from medical breakthroughs, which could change our lives. But these guys live forever. So let me read to you. I'm just trying to see the high on the year on the stock. It spiked to $21, and most of the trading with volume, what looks to be in the $9 range, plus or minus, and all the way up to 11. Now that it's at 6, that's a nice spread they have. All they have to do is suppress the price. Why can they do this without fear? Listen to this. First right of refusal, section 1.4. The company agrees that for a period of 12 months from the closing date, if they need money, through a public offering or a private placement or any other capital fundraising of equity or equity-linked securities, the representative of this group shall have the irrevocable right of first refusal to act as sole investment banker, sole bookmaker, book runner, and sole placement agent at the Kingswood's sole discretion with respect to each and every financing or refinancing on terms customary to Kingswood. The representative shall have the sole right to determine whether any other broker shall have a right to participate. So they got them in a box. They raised this money in February. If TELO needs money before next February, it's possible. I don't have any prior knowledge of Kingswood Investments, a division of Kingswood's capital partner. But if TELO needs money, particularly if they have good results, they got to carry on the tests. They got to do it through somebody associated with Kingswood, whether Kingswood knows it or not. I think you know where I stand. So that's the one risk with TELO. On the other hand, only one guy has purchased the offering. There's whales in the stock, and I think I'm about to go through the presentation. I think this stock has the potential to catch out these shorts. Now, yesterday on one of my videos, the guy said I meander. Already it's 14 minutes. Hey, I got to get better at that, whoever it was that said it. My name's here, his name wasn't there. So I'm sorry, we're already in for 14 minutes. Let me get into the presentation. But my advice to Telomir would be to pinch pennies for the entirety of 1 year, unless this stock short squeezes soon, before next February. But I wouldn't raise any money in the equity markets before next February. I'd let this 12 months expire, because as long as you go back to Kingswood they're going to raise it below these prices, and probably below these prices. They're going to say to you, we've gone to our clients, we can raise the money at $4. And that gives them the ability to then, close out positions if they want. Realistically, they probably won't. What they'll do is keep driving it downward. This is a NASDAQ company. They'll tell the CEO, who believes, and rightly, NASDAQ used to be the premier exchange. It was the #1 over-the-counter market. It was where everyone wanted to be. But under Adina Friedman, who collects $2.5 million a month, she's run it down. She's just there with her smile, and perhaps she's the first woman, I don't know. But her background is from Carlyle Group. Whose side is she on? She's not on the side of CEOs or investors. She's on the side of where she wants to spin out and get a board directorship or another big salary, in my judgment. Everything on here is my opinion. But the next thing Kingswood will do, if this goes low enough, and if they can get it under $1, I don't think they can, because there are big players in it. There's big buyers. But their gambit on a typical stock is they'll get it under $1. They'll go to the CEO and the board and say, you've got to do a reverse split. Well, looking at this, you've got, let me use a simplistic example. On the first day of trading, you had, I can't quite tell, but let's call it 1 million shares in volume, and it was all the way up to $21, and it settled in around $9. So let me just use the simplest example. Let's say they shorted $10 million worth of stock. It went on. I'm sure it's more than that, but I just want to use the first day example. $10 million is sitting in the prime brokerage account of someone that knew Kingswood was doing this financing. So they sold it at $10 on average. It's 1 million shares, and there's $10 million sitting at the prime broker's account. They can't get access to it because the trade hasn't settled. And the maintenance requirement, at a minimum, is going to be, while the stock's trading here, $10 a share. Plus, you have to settle the trade before you can get the money. Now, that's not 100% true, because these groups of people collude with each other, and it takes too long. But they will do the manipulation in the market. So the first LLC will be selling stock that doesn't exist to the next one. The third one will buy it, and in a sort of daisy chain of failed to delivers, failed to locates, they will cover the first sales with fake buying, but then they'll move it into 2 or 3 other LLCs. It'll all be counterfeit. Adina Friedman won't care. Gensler won't care. Your broker won't care. But what it effectively does is close out the positions so the criminals can hit and run and take a big part of that 10 million out. But let's just leave that out of the example I'm about to give you. On that first day, they sold 1 million, in my example, 1 million shares at $10 that didn't exist. It wasn't available. One guy bought the whole float. And I'm telling you, he and other whales are buying the stock because I'm about to show you this stock on its own, not with a short squeeze, could revolutionize the world. And I was just overawed by what I saw. I left there stunned and thinking, am I too late to benefit from this? So anyway, they have $10 million sitting at their prime broker they can't get access to. It's a NASDAQ stock. And Adina's smiling, and everyone wants to be on her NASDAQ because it's the best place to be. She doesn't do anything to protect CEOs. She doesn't do anything to protect investors or the absolute failure of U.S. capital markets to be deep, transparent and to provide capital and to allow companies to grow. It used to be you could use this stock to go raise more money, hire more doctors, or acquire other technologies. Now the shorts take all the profit up front, and Adina Friedman does nothing about it. She should be ashamed of herself. She should return all of the money she's ever earned at NASDAQ. But anyway, so there's $10 million sitting in the prime broker's account. The stock right now is trading at 6. And this is the theory. I don't think they'll be able to do it this time. They want to drive it down below $1. So NASDAQ, Adina Friedman's beautiful firm that's just a gold-plated abattoir. It's just a place where CEOs come and go, I made it to the NASDAQ. But it's still the same killing fields as the rest of the over-the-counter markets. Because she doesn't care. I don't want to say she's too dumb to know that it's going on. I just don't think she cares. I wouldn't want to imply she's not smart. Okay, so the 10 million sitting there. The stock, in my example, a few months from now is under $1. So just that first day's trading of 10 million, I'm not thinking about all the rest of the crime going on. Just that first day's trading of $10 million, under $1, what will the smiling faces at Kingswood say? Hey, why don't we do a reverse split? So then the board and the lawyers say, that makes sense. You can stay on NASDAQ. So they do a reverse split, in my example, 10 for 1. Let's just say it's 10 for 1. So the stock that's under $1 goes back to $9. What happens to the maintenance requirement in the prime broker, in the criminal's account? Instead of having to maintain $10 for 10 million shares, 1 million shares, and this is $10 million, 1 million shares, they only have to maintain $10 on 100,000 shares. So the $10 million that's sitting there, they can take $9 million out. What? Without a closing transaction. No, they pay no taxes. You think that they commit these crimes, they're going to pay taxes? They take $9 out. They create it out of thin air. While Breakfast at Biden's wants to increase your taxes, why doesn't he set his administration after this creation of wealth that's fraud and at least tax it? At least tax it. The SEC is going to do nothing about it, but I bet the IRS would. But anyway, do you see the trap that the criminals think they've set? I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's going to give you a short squeeze. But my advice to anybody from Telomir that might be listening, if you're still listening, because I got all worked up, is do not do a reverse split. If you fall off the NASDAQ, who cares? You don't want to date Adina Friedman anyway. There's better people to date than Adina Friedman. You want to maintain your independence from the criminals. Secondly, don't do any financing for 12 months so you can get out of the toxic sellers. I consider this toxic. The selling goes on and on and on. They can come to Kingswood. Kingswood can price it. And by the way, there's 29 million shares outstanding. By the time it gets down under $1, there'll be 100 million. Then there'll be 200 million. Then there'll be 500 million. And any good news, the criminals have destroyed, putting a lie to Gary Gensler's testimony in front of Congress that I heard, that the U.S. markets are the deepest, most transparent, and the best capital formation markets in the world. It's just not true. All right, let me go on with the company. I tried it while I was traveling. I tried it here at home. The presentation that Telomir did the day I was there is not able to print in a continuous print. It just goes page by page. And in fact, when you go in and try to print it, it gives a blank page. So what I've done here is print out photos. I took photos of each page, and I've tried to print out some of the presentation. So we're at 25 minutes. I'm going to try to get this done by 40 minutes. And I am going to tell you, I'm going to show it to you. See it? And I'm going to read it while I'm talking to you. Telomir Pharmaceutical at a Glance, founded in 2021. Baltimore is its headquarters. The IPO was February 9th. Please don't do another financing at all of any kind until after February of 2025. Shares outstanding, 29 million. All right, let me just read this thing. Telir Pharmaceuticals is a preclinical stage pharmaceutical company focused on the development and commercialization of Telomir-1. Telomir-1 is the first innovative and novel small molecule targeted at lengthening the DNA's protective telomere caps in order to treat or reverse age-related conditions like arthritis. And there's a picture of it. And you can find this on the SEC filings. Now, they did this in the presentation. A telomere is like the end of your shoelace. It's like that plastic wrap. That's called something. I can't remember what it's called. I can almost remember it. And it's Iskowich. I don't know, it's called something. But that's like what a telomere is. And over our lifetimes, our DNA, that's on the end of our DNA. This protects or allows our DNA to create stem cells. Now, stem cells, over our lifetime, we get to sort of a reproduction of our entire first lot of stem cells 70 times over the course of our life, or as much as 140. That's what I wrote down, 70 to 140 times in our lifetime. But by the time you're 30, stem cells are used to, for example, heal your skin after a sunburn. So when you get in your 20s and 30s, all of that resiliency, the body coming back to life, the quick recovery starts disappearing. And as you get older and older and older, and boy, when I flew to Dallas, you stand up out of your seat, everything hurts and creaks, and you have swelling, all of that. It's partly, anyway, as I understand it, because that telomere has shortened, and that means that your body's own ability to produce stem cells is curtailed drastically. That's aging, as I understand it. So here's the one punchline I know about. Ham has told you that he has gone and received stem cells inserted in his knee because he plays pickleball and his cartilage or whatever the heck is almost gone, or whatever he described. Well, he also has described to you, and I'm not going to go into details, but he's described to you many times how he takes care of his wonderful son, who is one of the bravest people I've ever known in the world, and a great outlook. But they also used stem cells to try to improve the eyesight of his son. Well, anyway, these injections of stem cells, to my memory from the presentation, are like injecting 8,000 stem cells. Your body, when it goes to fix a sunburn, fix a bloody hit to the head, fix a heart attack, fix muscles that you wore out, the body issues hundreds of thousands of stem cells, if not millions of stem cells, to address that. So imagine, this is the essence of telomere. Imagine that they've come up with a therapy that allows your own body to recreate stem cells all the way until you're 120 years old. It means that your body, you don't need injections. It means your body will be able to flood your system with your own stem cells in the millions of stem cells to both cure something that's happened, but also to make your body young again. Yeah, I mean, it's phenomenal, but the criminals are going to short it because they already got their old age sorted. Well, let's each of us say tonight, it's hard to do, but let's say a little prayer to the good Lord above that these people who are so full of greed and material drive and are in this world, that they can have an aha moment and realize that telomere could change and prolong, make happier the lives of their children and grandchildren. All right, so let's go on to the next one. This is the key investment highlights. I'm going to try to be done in 15 minutes. Key investment highlights, I'll read it to you. Treatment indication. By elongating telomeres, that's the end of the, that little plastic ipswitch, age-related inflammatory diseases like osteoarthritis and something else. That's where they're seeing the results right now. Large market opportunity. In osteoarthritis, it's a $7.5 billion worldwide market which is growing. Global longevity market, right now, I don't know how they get this calculated. I don't know anyone that wants to live fewer years. Is 25 billion, expected to grow to 44 billion by 2023. They have exclusive licensing, world-class partners, and a great management team, most of whom I met. Okay, next slide. This is the molecule. This is Telomere collaborated, and they created Telomir-1. Early research has confirmed the mechanism of action of Telomir-1 and suggests that it may be a potent metal inhibitor, potentially leading to reversal of aging through telomere regulation. Now this little molecule, that red dot, is the metal. Now, I kind of got excited about this because I've been hearing through gold companies and nanoparticles, all this, microscopic science. But to get metals, to get hard metals out of your body, you can think about what that might do to your ability to live longer and to live better, in a better way. All right, next one. Age reversals. Age reversals. What do we mean by age reversal or anti-aging? It's not the fountain of youth. It is the science of telomere elongation. Telomere elongation. Lengthening the end of your DNA, which goes down over time as we live. Whilst our initial proposed clinical indicators for Telomir-1 are osteoarthritis and hemochromatosis, we are also more broadly studying the effect of telomere elongation on the ability of the body to repair itself, thereby potentially mitigating effects typically associated with aging. Can I read that again? We are working on elongating the telomeres, giving the body to the ability to repair itself, potentially mitigating effects of aging. Who doesn't want that except the shorts? And what the shorts really want, they want all the profits up front to themselves because they're providing $1 million that they don't even have. They sell it in the market. Now, I think Kingswood, when I look at it, they may have real brokers, but there's somebody doing this. So the criminals want all the profit from this because they exist. We've got to stop this. And it starts with demanding our elected officials enforce the security laws of 1934. It's pretty simple. Settle the trades. Stop mimeographing title to stock. There should be one stock, one settlement. All right, so here, let's read more of this. By age, we mean an examination in our preclinical animal testing of demonstrable endpoints. In other words, they've made progress on this. This is all science talk. Gait strength, joint damage, weight bearing, telomere length, change in fluids, fur and coat changes, skin, hair, wrinkles changes, reduction in pain, behavioral changes. What they did, they were using lab rats and they were injecting this molecule to see if it would work on swelling, on osteoarthritis. They found out that the first things they were seeing is the gait improved. The rats started having better coats, longer tails, real tails. They started behaving in a younger fashion. So they say, wait a minute, what's happening here? And that's where the excitement comes. All right, I'm skipping a bunch here. Skipping a bunch. Here's the timeline of what's coming for telomere. This quarter, after the IPO, they're doing the science stem cell therapy. They're looking into telomere elongation, telomerase enzyme, and they're working with a laboratory. In Q2, they're going to study the rats. They're going to see about swelling in rats. They're going to work on seeing the effect of anti-aging, and they're going to use Charles River Laboratories. From the second quarter to the end of this year, they're going to be testing on beagles, lab beagles. The same thing, swelling, age reversal, and they're working with a group. They're going to get the dogs acclimated. They're going to, I guess, induce the arthritis, and then they're going to see if the telomere works over the last 6 months of the year. Next year, 2025, they're going to go into phase 2, and they're going to start testing it on human beings. Imagine if this works on dogs and cats and horses. That's a big market too. Okay, let's move on to why do telomeres matter? Telomeres matter to longevity because stem cells repair you. Early results supporting this hypothesis have shown that telomere-1 increases telomere length and that telomere-1 may do so by increasing telomerase. Now you can see a lot of words in there that we don't work with. What I heard at that presentation, what I heard them announcing is in these test results, the end of the DNA, the telomere, grew by 40%. It's a big deal. As the president would say, this is a big blank deal. It's really big. So the testing is to prove it, get third-party eyes on it, do a report. But it's amazing. Okay. I'm going to go to the conclusions. Well, first, I'm going to go to this. Let me show you some of the things your body, that you do with your body. Stem cells and telomere regeneration. Stress shortens telomeres. Ding, 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 that's me. Stress shortens telomeres. People who eat sugar and processed foods have shorter telomeres. I try not to do that, but we all do it. People who do extreme physical activity have shorter telomeres. That might be ham. Astronauts have shorter telomeres. People who have sunburns, smoke, or vape have shorter telomeres. People who don't sleep well have shorter telomeres. People who have a good diet have longer telomeres. People who meditate have longer telomeres. People who have friends have longer telomeres. People who do moderate physical activity or who watch from the audience have longer telomeres. People who sleep normally have longer telomeres. And people like you who enjoy a little bit of yum yum have longer telomeres. Okay, let's go to conclusions. There's a lot of data here. I just want to go to the conclusions. I'm skipping about 10 slides. Here's the conclusions. Now, let me say it again. This announcement, although it didn't get somehow into the financial press and reporters have to say it, whoever is shorting the stock doesn't want it out. This announcement is massive. I'm at 41 minutes. So let's go over the conclusions. Telomere. The data confirmed our hypothesis that Telomir-1, that's the therapy that they have created and it belongs to them. Telomir-1 affects telomere length. That's the end of our DNA. It's the little ispicowitch or whatever it's called at the end of our shoelaces is the example. So their product, Telomir-1, has shown that it affects telomere length, and it has shown that it promotes its extension in primary cell strains by 40%. That's conclusion number one. Telomere has shown that it lengthens, Telomir-1 has shown that it lengthens telomeres in rats by 40%. So now we go to dogs, then we go to human. Telomir-1 was observed to cause cell cytotoxicity. I don't know what that is. All right, so number 2, I assume is good. I don't know what it is. Number 3, despite cell loss, Telomir-1 was effective in extending telomere length in MSC cells. That's in bold. Telomere was effective in extending telomere length in MSC cells. Number 4, I have no idea what it means. But number 4, there was less cell death, less inflammatory response, more recycled cell constituents. He showed a slide where sometimes therapies work, or sometimes when cells are damaged, like punched or sunburned, that as they're curing or around it, other cells die. I think this is what it's talking about, necrotic cell death. But this therapy stopped that and even reversed it. All right, look at the bottom line. Look at the bottom line. Data confirmed our hypothesis that telomere increases telomerase activity by 40%. Data confirmed our hypothesis that Telomir-1 increases telomerase activity by 40%. So here's what happened. They were testing this therapy on rats for swelling, for arthritis. They noticed something else was going on. And what they saw with their eyes was that the rats who took this therapy were looking younger, acting younger, better coat, better tails, better eyes, better gait. So they did this study. Now this study is showing that the end of the DNA, that gets worn down, which restricts the ability for our body to create its own stem cells, grew by 40%, or the cells grew by 40%. This is how I understood what I heard. This is how I understood it. It is revolutionary. Now, I left the doctor's book in the other room, and I've got to end here. But let me just tell you some of the changes that will come in life, could come in life. The result of this is, if it works first in rats, then dogs, and then human beings, and we've got to go through those tests. There was a time, by the way, in the stock market, something like this, the stock would already be trading at $80. But that we're not in that world, because in Gary Gensler's world, the best thing is to sell, suppress all good news, make sure that the criminals, which includes our biggest pools of money, can make money easily by selling stock that doesn't exist. As long as Gary Gensler can be the next Treasury Secretary, why not? Let's not rock the boat. Let's not be an Elliot Ness. Let's just be mediocre in our job. So, bottom line here, imagine a world. And it was in his presentation. It's in his book. I'll go over the book in a separate video. I am reading it. I read most of it already. But here's some of the questions. What if everybody starts living to 90 years old and their health is as if they're 55 or 60? What if everyone starts on the margin starts living to 100 or 120 and their health is as if they're 60 to 70 or 80 years old? Should we still pay Social Security, for example? Do we have enough housing? Education, should there be more education? What does a productive life that is extended by maybe double do to the economies of the Western world? I mean, it's unbelievable. So Telomer, trading at under $7. Telomer trading under $7, I think is a strong accumulate. I cannot give you financial advice because I don't know you, but I think this is a strong accumulate, and I think this could have a short squeeze as bigger funds, bigger investments accumulate it, and realize how stunning the simple idea is, rather than injecting stem cells in the human body from other bodies, or horses or dogs or cats or birds, all you have to do is use this this molecule, Telomer-1, and you allow the body to go back as if it were in its teens or 20s, replicating its own stem cells. And the body is able, after age 30, after age 40, to cure everything from stress to sunburns to broken arms to heart attacks, so that each of us can live longer and live in a younger fashion. But we can live by 20, 30, 40 years longer, and our health, our body, can be 20, 30, 40 years younger. Just start thinking about that and think how big Telomer could be. I wouldn't want to be short the stock. I think it's a great stock to accumulate. If you want to trade and trade it for a squeeze, I think that's a reasonable trade too. The company has to stay away from falling into the trap that the market is set up for the company. But I think they can get through that. There's whales in it. There's big buying. And as this story gets out, oh my gosh, who doesn't want to live longer, and who doesn't want to still be able to play football when they're 70 years old? All right, that's my video. It's 50 minutes. I'm going to end it here. That's the first part. After you listen to this, listen to the interview I did, which is much shorter. And I hope this gives you enough of an idea so that when you listen to that Q&A period from these tremendous gentlemen, I interviewed both doctors, the CEO and the gentleman, Rosen, Dr. Rosen, who wrote the book. I think this is one of the most exciting things I've ever seen. Of course, I'm not a doctor. All right. Thank you very much for watching. I'm on my way to New York. I'll see you from New York City. And just because this telomere came out a little late, it doesn't mean that I'm still not as enthusiastic. And as they might say in the UK, gobsmacked by the tremendous story. Imagine your audience is 8 billion people who want to live longer and want their own stem cells instead of having somebody else's injected in them. I think it's huge. Cheers.